I'm speaking with State Representative Luke Meerman, who represents 7 townships in Michigan's Ottawa County. He's a small business owner and fifth-generation dairy farmer himself. Representative Meerman will serve as Vice Chair of the House Agricultural Committee for the 2019-2020 term. Representative Meerman, thank you so much for joining us today to talk a little bit about farm stress in Michigan.
Absolutely, I'm thrilled to be here.
So obviously there's been some stressors throughout Michigan to Michigan farmers so far this year with the amount of rain we've had, with the inability of farmers to get into the field and things like that. What do you see as some of the most significant challenges that the Michigan ag community is facing today?
Currently the rain is a pretty big deal, and it's been maybe a generation since we've been held out of the field this long. And crop farmers, some of them are starting to go the insurance route and not even put crops in, but the animal hogs and everyone else, they still need to get their crops in. They got to feed their animals, and you don't just haul corn silage across the state line. It's still got to go in, and by the day they're losing tonnage. So it's a big stressor. It's one of the pieces of farming that is always hard to. It's part of what makes it really special, but it's part of what makes it really hard too. When you get through those hard times, it's so gratifying, and you think, wow, this is pretty neat. But when you're in the middle of those hard times, it's tough. Now, the dairy industry itself has been low prices for 3 years. They have some, new light on the horizon where things might be getting better, but they've been really struggling, and of course, crop prices have been low for the last couple of years too. But specifically, the dairy industry has just been struggling. We lost quite a few dairy farmers over the last couple of years.
Could you tell us a little bit about your own story? I know we've heard you speak before. I know you've personally dealt with some farm stress. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, kind of two different occasions for me. One was my dad had bone cancer, diagnosed when he was 47 years old. Big strapping man, running the farm, doing well, and he has a break in a bone, and they find out he has bone cancer, and it takes him 10 years to die. And when I was as soon as I can remember doing anything, I was with him on the farm, by his side all the time. I did my homework on the school bus, so I never had to do homework at school. Just get off the bus and run out and get out and do chores and get on the tractor with him and just sit there and ride with him. So he was my best friend, and it was hard to watch him go from that big strapping person to losing all his strength and not looking anything like he was. And for him, not being able to get out on the farm and he felt useless, like he couldn't be out there helping. It was hard for me to watch all that. But anyway, that was a big stressor for me, and it actually culminated in a visit to the hospital, thinking I had a stroke because I couldn't walk right and my speech was slurred, and it was all stress. Then I got involved in some outpatient help and also some medication that kind of got me through that. The second stressor for me, and honestly maybe was even a little bit harder, was I owned a cheese business and I had a recall. And within 3 days I'd lost everything I had, and it all disappeared that quickly. And in that case I really felt like a failure, like I couldn't get it figured out and other people could, and I had really not gotten it right. So those were the 2 times that really were big stressors for me.
You mentioned your wife was there definitely to support you, and we talk about that a lot in terms of coping with stress, family networks, friend networks, and things like that. Were there other things that when you're going through these really tough times that helped you cope?
Sure. Number one was my faith, and I cried out to the Lord multiple times a day. My family, just having them around me. Honestly, it was my kids and my wife thinking that, that's what really kept me going and kept me operating.
For many farmers who are, facing, possibly selling their farm, that's a very difficult decision. I grew up on a dairy farm in West Michigan, and we sold our farm in the 90s, and it was definitely a very difficult decision and time for our family. I clearly remember my family going through and trying to figure out kind of what were going to be our next steps for farming. Can you give some suggestions about farmers that may be in this similar situation?
You know, you don't usually quit farming at the high point. You quit farming when things aren't going well, when, you know, the bank says, I'm not giving you another operating loan, you know, you need to do something else, you know, we're going to call the loan. So you're kind of at a low point, and at that point too, I think you sometimes feel like a failure. You know, you look around and see the other farmers, maybe they got the newer tractor, they added another barn, they've got some more cows than you, and you say, boy, they got it figured out and I don't. And it's that real thought of, I didn't get it figured out and I am a failure. And since you're so tied to it, then, you know, when you watch that farm fail, you think you're a failure. Obviously there's things after farming, and farmers themselves are very adept people, and they could do many different occupations, but sometimes you don't see that. In fact, I threw out quite a lot of resumes after my failure, my cheese failure business, and I don't think I had one person call me back. So you kind of wonder where your place is in the world at that point too, and you think, boy, I guess maybe I'm not all that much. So it is hard. It's hard to find your place after farming.
At Michigan State and within Michigan State University Extension, we've been working on some programs to help farmers and help those that work with farmers deal with farm stress. And one particular project we're working on is developing text message reminders, so kind of similar to reminders you may get from your doctor for a dentist appointment or something like that. But these are messages that may deal with how to cope, stress management tips, and they're all going to be given to farmers in a private way, because sometimes, you know, it may be something that they're not comfortable talking about, whereas getting a text message reminder is something that, you know, no one else has to see. So it's something that hopefully they can be a little more comfortable in receiving this type of information.
The hardest thing about being depressed and quite despondent, even of life at times, is that you feel like you're the only one. And so if there's any way that, you know, we can encourage each other, encourage our fellow farmers, and that is to make sure that none of us ever feel like we're alone, that we're not the only ones that have gone through stuff like that. Other people have lost businesses too. Other people have, you know, faced a really uncertain future, and it's not the end. It's definitely not the end.
Based on your experiences, what messages of hope can you give to farmers?
You know, except for my family, I might not be here myself, and here I am. The Lord has put me in this place to be state representative. Not that that's arriving in any way or the symbol of success, but it certainly is a new chapter in my life, and I'm excited to be here and grateful that I'm still contributing to the world around me.